Galatians chapter 4, verse 10 to 11. Truth number 53. Paul calls the Galatians out of pagan holidays, not biblical holidays. Galatians chapter 4, verse 8 to 11. When you did not know God, you served those which by nature are not gods. How is it that you turn again to the weak and beggarly elements, to which you desire again to be in bondage? You observe days and months and seasons and years. I am afraid for you, lest I have labored for you in vain. It is likely you have been taught that Sabbath, feasts, Jubilee years, and new moon festivals are the observations that Paul is referencing here. Since Judaism does have its fair share of holy days, it is easy to see the correlation. Some reason that the Galatians were being persuaded by Judaizers to celebrate Jewish holidays. The pushback to this position, however, is that Paul describes these observances as having an appearance of wisdom in self-imposed religion, false humility and neglect of the body, but are of no value against the indulgence of the flesh. He calls them the weak and beggarly elements which bring bondage. Are biblical holy days self-imposed with false humility and body neglect? Were God's appointed times weak and beggarly when He established them? This does not seem to be a very accurate description of the God-ordained, joyous celebrations of worship given to us in Scripture. Almost every biblical scholar agrees that the Church of Galatia was predominantly Gentile and had come out of paganism. Yet almost every commentary interprets Paul's days, months, seasons, and years as Jewish holidays. How could those who never served the God of Israel or followed the Torah return to something they never practiced in the first place? It is impossible for these Galatian Gentiles, who previously served idols and did not know the God of Israel, to backslide into Jewish practices and biblical holidays. They had never observed Sabbath, new moon festivals, or the feast in their former life of sin. How could they return to a Jewish calendar that they never once observed? It doesn't take much digging to uncover that Israel is not the only culture to observe holy calendar days. In addition to calendar observances found within the Egyptian and Babylonian cultures, such as the Feast of Drunkenness or the months of the Babylonia calendar, the Greeks were extremely religious and quite superstitious in their celebration of the gods. The ancient Greeks were known to hold festivals throughout the year. There was the Panatheina of Athens, held in observance of Athena's birthday. It involved a processional through the city of Acropolis that included priests, animal sacrifices, chariots, athletes, and maidens. There was the Great Dionysia, which took place in March and was held in honor of Dionysus, the god of wine. At this festival, participants formed a parade carrying sacred objects and phallic symbols made of wood or bronze. At the end of the parade, bloodless offerings were made and animal sacrifices were performed. There was also the festivals of Bodromia, Thargelia, Thesmorphia, Hermea, Heraclea, Buphonia, Apaturia, the family festival of Amphidromia, the feast of Adonia, and the 3-day festival of Anthesteria. Notice that Paul lists days, months, seasons, and years. While the biblical calendar does hinge on the Sabbath, holy days as outlined in Scripture, are measured by weeks and groupings of 7. They are not measured by months, seasons, and years. It should be pointed out that weeks, which is predominant in the Hebrew calendar, is notably absent from Paul's list of calendar observances. Given that the context is about those things that the Galatian Christians were turning again to, it is unlikely that Paul is referring to any biblical feast specifically or to any biblical festival whatsoever. Pagan days, months, and seasons of the Greek festivals are a better fit here. These Gentile converts once observed these pagan festivals. The apostle is concerned that they are not letting go of these worldly observances now that they have turned to Christ. Conclusion: Paul is not opposed to Sabbath, Passover, and the feasts of the Lord. After all, he himself observed these his entire life, even after his conversion to Christ. It is pagan festivals that alarmed Paul. To put it in a modem context, perhaps we should be less alarmed with Christians observing Passover and more distressed that believers would participate in Christmas, Easter, Halloween, and a Burning Man festival.